Okay, so we've got the topic of OneDrive and Office 365. It's going to be a basic overview of how these things work and what all the features are that we can take advantage of. So one thing that I sort of noticed recently is a lot of people don't realize or understand what Office 365 is versus, let's say, the Office suite. The Office 365 would mostly be things that you find online, things that you access through your web browser, whereas the Office suite are a series of desktop applications that you would use. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, those are all separate Office applications and they integrate together. So as of most recently, the desktop applications are actually called Office 365 apps, whereas before they would be named after the year. So Office 2010, 2013, 2016, things like that. So I'm going to pull up just an Excel spreadsheet here and go over some of the integration with OneDrive and Office 365 that's built into all the Office applications. So this is the latest version of Office. This again is called Office 365 apps. These are the desktop versions right now that I'm in. And one thing that you'll notice at the top left of the screen, there's this little autosave option that is, I believe, a new feature with the latest version of the Office desktop. And what this will do is it only functions if you save your file to OneDrive. If you have a file that's saved on your desktop or your documents, it will not have that autosave option. So for instance, if I go into this blank workbook, start a new file, you'll notice here at the top that the autosave has turned off. And if I click on that, it will basically prompt me to autosave by saving the file to OneDrive. So it's important to know that what this will do is it will save the file, upload it automatically to OneDrive every so often. I don't know the timing, like maybe every 10 minutes or so, but essentially that will keep everything synced up to your OneDrive account, and you can access that from any location. So you don't necessarily have to be on the computer that you're working on with. You can open it from other devices as well. So I'll just skip out of that and return to my other file. So this is just a file that I've been working on that I have basically been tracking some things since last 2 years. And what you'll notice is this is a file that's saved on OneDrive, and it has this little option up here where it says saved. If I click that, I can actually see a version history. So the history of the document will show up on the far right-hand side. And this will basically have, all the file versions that you've had. I don't know how useful this would be to you, but it's essentially saving a copy, a different version every time that the file is saved. So you can go back here, there's stuff from 2021. You can open any of these versions, it will revert back to that particular file. And then you can see what the document looked like when that particular file was saved. Okay. So another thing that you can notice at the top is a share option. Now, this option specifically works with OneDrive files. Like, you won't be able to share specifically a file that's saved to your computer. You can only share things that are saved through OneDrive. And the way this works is you can choose who you share it with. You can set different options. So you'll notice that there is an option to allow editing. So if you just want to share a file with someone and just have them view it, you can uncheck this box and they will only be able to view the file. You can also set here an expiration date, a password, if you want to have a little bit more control over the file, if you only want people to access for a certain period of time, or if you want to set more security, put a password on there. And then you'll notice here is that there's a block download option too. So let's say you only want them to view the file in the browser, then you can block them from downloading it. So again, these are all things that you can take advantage of. And one thing that works with the sharing is you can collaborate in real time with other people. So a lot of us use network drives at Bucks. We save our files to the network drive, and other people in our areas or colleagues can open and view the files. But one thing they can't do is they can't open the file at the same time as you. So if you have the file open on your computer, they try to open the file, it will essentially say this copy is already in use, and you could only open a read-only file. So with the share options with OneDrive and Office 365, you can work in real time, and you'll notice when people are collaborating with you, you'll see like a little thing on your screen, like a little, it'll pop up with their username, I believe, in a different color. You can see if they're in Excel, which file they're opening, which cell they're in, which worksheet they're in, and you can see what they're doing here. Same thing with Word. If you're collaborating on a Word document, you'll see their location in the document, their name's going to be there, and you can kind of see, not right in real time, but pretty close what they're doing with the document as you work on it. So if we move over to the browser, so I'm going to open up Google Chrome here. Now this would essentially be, if I open up the same document I have here, this will open the file up in the online version, and they're similar in their layouts and their features, but the online versions generally have things that you can't do. So you could look through all the ribbons and see some of the features aren't there. But for the most part, just editing the document will allow you to do it in either version. If you wanted some more features and things like that, then generally you will want to work with the desktop version of the software. And you can see, like I was saying here, I have the file open and it's, telling me where I'm located as I'm working on this file. And then the same thing can be done here in the Office 365 web version, where I can make the sharing options. The features are pretty much the same there. And then one thing that I did notice in the online version is there was a catch-up feature. So if you are working with someone or a bunch of people on the document, there's this little catch-up option in the top right corner. You click that and it will say, here's all the things that have changed since you last opened the document. And it'll be a list of the history, basically. This person made this change to this document or this section of the file, and then it kind of goes through the list there. So it's a good way to keep track of all the things that are going on. So if you ever do collaborate with the documents with other people, then you can always view those features there and see what's going on with the documents.
Glenn, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's a question in the chat asking if you can open and edit a file at the same time to make revisions while collaborating. So I take it they're asking if more than one person can be in the document at the same time.
Yes, so that was the big bonus and feature of this collaboration with Office 365 and OneDrive is multiple people can be working on the same file at the same time. Whereas other versions that, for instance, if they were shared to the network drive, only one person could open the file at a time. Anyone else would be restricted from opening and editing that file. So yes, that was the big thing, is you can have, I don't know if there's a limit, upper limit, but you can have multiple people at the same time working at the same document in real time, and you would see their changes, they would see yours, things like that.
Terrific.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to point out is we do get a lot of questions from employees and sometimes students that say, you know, can I install Office on my personal computers? And the answer is yes. So ever since we switched over to Office 365, it's been a couple years now, we have the ability to install the software on up to 5 devices. So Mac and Windows computers, desktops, and things like that. We can install the software, which includes all the Office programs. So the Excel, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, things like that. Those are all included in the desktop versions. And generally, it's really simple to do. What you do is sign into your Office 365. You can get to that from the homepage. You can get to that from MyBucks, but they will all kind of lead to the same place. And then once you're signed into your account, it's pretty much the same method. Is there's little boxes in the top left-hand corner. You click those, and then you click this little Office link at the top. And right here at the top, it says install Office. So this will give you a download. You download it to a computer. It installs fairly quickly. And generally, you can, I believe with Windows, you can start working on it while it's downloading. I think with Mac, it will have you install pretty much everything. Again, it's really simple, straightforward. Once you have the software installed, you sign in with your Bucks account. That will validate the license, and you will be able to use the software freely. So up to 5 computers. It's real helpful if you need, let's say you have, a couple laptops or a desktop at home, you can install the software there and you have access to the full applications, and you can take advantage of that. So if you weren't aware, or if you want to let other people know that maybe might be interested in that, just share that information with them. And another thing, we've been pushing the OneDrive backup for anyone that has or will be soon getting a new computer, laptop basically, where everyone with the laptop will want to back up their computer first. So because we've been working remotely, it's a little bit different, and we've said, okay, we'll back up your computer. That will make things easier for us for transitioning, moving all the files over. So I am going to open up OneDrive. So it's just a program that should be installed on all the devices. And when you open this, it will basically pull up a folder, and it will show you the status of all the files that were backed up, all the ones that are currently on your OneDrive and things that are on your computer. And you'll notice that there's icons for the particular files depending on the status of them. So right here, I have this comp 111 folder, and then it's got a little cloud icon. So that means this file specifically is saved on OneDrive only. It's not on the local computer, but you still have access to it from here. And then there's like a little person icon next to that, meaning that it has some sort of sharing functionality. So this folder here has been shared with other people. And then you'll notice here, anything with a green check mark would be things that are on this computer, as well as backed up through OneDrive. So essentially, it'll give you a status if you ever have new files here. you'll see an icon that will say that this file is still syncing to the cloud. And after it's completed, you'll see the status that's updated here. And if I open up the actual OneDrive application, you'll see that the message comes up here that says to back up your folders. Your IT department wants you to back up your documents, pictures, and desktop. So these files here, if I click on back up these folders, it will essentially show me a list of the files here, folders basically, so desktop, documents, and pictures. And then you would click the start backup option here. So what this will do is anything that's on the desktop, the documents or the pictures folders will automatically be backed up to OneDrive. And when you get your new computer, you would just repeat the same process. You would sign into your OneDrive account on the new computer, and then it would essentially pull all those files back to your new computer, and then you can manage the files if you need to move them around and things like that. So real helpful to do that, and it will all automatically happen in the background. So any files that you save there, any changes that you make will be updated and uploaded to OneDrive as you use them. And
Glenn, we had another question. What is the storage limit on OneDrive?
so you can see right here, it actually tells you the space left after selection. So after I upload these is 1022 gigabytes. So it's essentially 1 terabyte. If you picture, let's say you have the latest iPhone and they come in capacity like 256 or 512 gigabytes. So basically double the space of, like, you know, the most premium iPhone out there. So you'd be hard pressed to use up all that space, you know, to have lots of pictures and documents. And I'd imagine if you were ever close to the limit, you would probably get some sort of notification like you're running out of space, and, you know, to manage your files like that. So a lot of space out there, and you can always check the status. There's a couple different ways. So if I switch back to the online version and I open up the OneDrive option here through my browser, there will be, it's kind of buried in the settings here. Let's see, how do you find that? So if you click the gear at the top, go to OneDrive settings, and go to more settings. And then right here, you have storage metrics. So right near here, it tells me the size of the folders and files and how much free space I have left. So you can see up here at the top that I'm barely using any of the space at this point. So 1 terabyte of storage space on OneDrive.
And we have another question, Glenn. Can you move a folder from Network L drive to OneDrive?
Yeah, you could do that. So I would say maybe copy instead of move, but yeah, you could do the same thing. So what you would do is just go into your file explorer. So I don't have that specific network drive, but I can go into another network location here. And I'll just go into my folder here, see if I have anything that I can move over. So this folder, I would just do a copy. And then you'll notice here the OneDrive location in File Explorer if I pull it up here and paste, so that will move all of those files from the network drive over to your OneDrive account. And once that's completed, you'll see the status where, like I said, the icons will update based on, you know, how long it will take, and, you know, upload and things like that. So yes, you can do that. You can move them over. So if you ever wanted to do that, I would say copy instead of move. That way, you know, you have in both locations, if you ever need to access it.
Glenn, it's Maria. That was my question. I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So when I copy it over, since those files were created in Office 365 Suite and not in Office 365, will it convert it over to be able to share the document, or will I have to click something to be able to share and collaborate on a particular document?
So once those files are on the OneDrive in your backup there, then you could open them in the online version, and then you could start sharing them right away. But yeah, once they're saved to OneDrive, then yes, you can start sharing. You can, put in people's email addresses. They'll get an email that says, Maria shared this file with you, and then yes, you can start collaborating on it right there.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yep, you're welcome. And that was some of the basis for this. We do have limited space on the network drive. I don't know if anyone had received an email recently, but we were kind of like running tight on space, and we're kind of asking people, hey, can you check a look at your area, see if you have something that you can delete or move to free up space. And that's kind of the issue with the shared drive, is there's so many people accessing it and there's limited space. So if you can move them over to OneDrive, then it would be beneficial, especially with all the features where you can collaborate with other people, and you have way more space, way more freedom to move things, and not have to start to worry about deleting things you'd probably never run out if you took advantage of that. Okay, just let that kind of do its thing in the background. And another thing I wanted to go over would be SharePoint. So SharePoint is what the new MyBox is based on. It essentially allows people to create groups, and then you can invite people in and you can share files that way. So it's another way to work with the features of Office 365. So let's say I have a department I'm with, or a group of colleagues that I want to essentially, work on and manage things here. So I can go to SharePoint, I can create a site, and I would create a team site. So this right here is a private space to collaborate with your team. That's what I'm looking for. And give it a name. I'll just go through basics here. So the privacy setting would be, in this case, private. So I only want to invite certain peoples here. And then what I would do here is I can invite people in, and they would receive another email with an invite into it. So don't necessarily want to create this. So the main thing about the team site or the SharePoints is the option to collaborate with different files. So I've got a help desk team private folder here. So what we do is we have a calendar that we want to let everybody in the group know. So if we have a schedule and things like that, we can also create a calendar. So if we have some events that are being scheduled, we can add a calendar to this, and people can actually import it into their Outlook and look to see, what's coming up and what to work with there. And you'll notice there's a whole bunch of other features here. There's a lot of things that you can do with this. Some of them are a little bit hidden, like you have to go and kind of go through all the settings and figure out what you can all do with it, but it's a very powerful tool. So again, this I think would mostly help, let's say you're used to working with your shared network drive, and instead of having like a folder or a series of folders on the network drive, you can create this SharePoint. You can invite everyone into your group. Let's say someone happens to get another job or they are retiring, it won't impact it because you can have multiple owners and you can kind of keep inviting people and changing permissions as needed. That way you would never really lose access to this. And the benefit to that would be the SharePoints can be accessed from any computer, whereas the network drives, typically you would have to be on campus or off campus with the VPN. So there's a little bit more flexibility with this option if you chose to do that with SharePoint.
So Glenn, there's a question, can you add a calendar quickly? I tried doing this and my calendar was added. I don't know if Wendy is able to elaborate a little bit on her question.
Yes, I wanted to add a calendar, just like you were speaking about, to our page, and my calendar with all of the things that I had scheduled went added, as opposed to a fresh calendar just for the team.
So you're looking to work with your existing Outlook calendar?
No, that's what actually uploaded or came to the page. I wanted a separate calendar, blank calendar for the team, so we could just have the activities of the team on there. Not anything, like if I have a meeting, I didn't want that on there. I wanted just the team on there.
Yeah, as far as I know, that when you create a SharePoint account and you make a new calendar, it's going to be a blank calendar that has no information in there. I don't know if for some reason it kind of like, was looking at your status for anything that you had on your calendar, but it should basically be a calendar that would be, brand new, that would have no entries on it. And then you can start adding things and people would be able to view them, and, depending on how you have it set up, they could add things as well. So I haven't done it specifically, but I've kind of looked into it. But yeah, you should have a blank calendar that's created for that SharePoint, and it would be just starting from scratch.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And like I
So-
said, that's kind of one of the things that's is buried in the options. Like it doesn't just appear by default. Like you have to go in there and say, I want to add another feature, and then you go in there and choose the calendar option. But it is there. You just have to kind of dig around a little bit to find it.
So there's another question, Glenn, from Michael Hennessy. It goes back a little bit to, can you install select Office apps, or must you install the whole suite?
So the way that the installer works is it will pretty much install everything. I don't know that you can customize it. Not at the start, at the very least, like it's going to put everything on there. It's going to put, if you're on Windows, it's going to put Access and Outlook and OneNote. So those things that you don't use, it is going to put them on there anyway. I knew previously you were able to customize the installation after the fact, but not while you're actually installing it. Like it's just going to say, you know, installing Office. There's no option to check or uncheck applications, unfortunately. Okay, I'm trying to think anything else that I might have missed. So yeah, it's the main takeaway is install these Office applications on your personal devices if you want to. The Office desktop applications have a lot of new integration with OneDrive. Starting a couple versions ago, it was the actual default save location. So when you save a file, it wanted you to save specifically to OneDrive first instead of, you know, your local computer. Like I said, the sharing and collaboration are great features. If you want to take advantage of that, it will allow you to work in real time with other people. You can see changes. Like I said, the online version had a feature where there's a catch-up. I don't know specifically if that's in the desktop version. It might be. I haven't really poked around there, but there's, like I said, there's some limitations with the different versions, like the online versions. You know, some features aren't there. You won't be able to add certain plugins and add-ons and things like that. Trying to think if there's anything else we can look at. Yeah, just to show that the new versions of Office, you'll notice right here, it's now called Office 365 app. So kind of using where they had, you know, versions based on the year they were released, but now they're considered Office 365 apps. But it's just think of it as a desktop version versus an online version, and they do work together in certain ways when you share files and things like that.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if you can't think of anything now, you can, you know, maybe play around with it and check to see if there's something that you might want to take advantage of. And
Let's see, one came in. Is there a situation where it would be the choice to save to the network or the computer rather than OneDrive? You know,
well, I think it's really a personal preference how you save the file. There's no reason for you to save it in one location if you don't need the functionality. So if you're not looking to share the file, whether you save it to your computer, the network location, or OneDrive, it wouldn't make so much a difference. The benefit for saving to OneDrive is you have a backup copy of it. So, you know, sometimes you have a hardware failure on your computer, or you lose power and maybe the file gets lost or corrupted. If you save it to OneDrive, you always have that backup location. And like I said here, you've got your version history where you can see different iterations of the file. So if you wanted to revert back to something based on when you last saved it, you can always do that as well. So it doesn't specifically matter, but I'd say the benefit for OneDrive would be the backup and the collaboration if you wanted to take advantage of that feature.
Now, if you choose not to share your file, in other words, can you count on it being private if you save it to OneDrive?
Yeah, so the files are private. They are only accessible by you. If we go back to the online version of OneDrive, you can see the actual status of the file. So you've got a column here on the right for the sharing status. So by default, the files are private. They are only accessible by your account. They are encrypted, and no one would be able to access them unless you specifically shared them.
Great. We have another question that came in. Can you set up OneDrive to automatically back up your information on your laptop or vice versa?
Yes, so that would be the feature of the OneDrive software. So that's installed on all the Lux devices. So if I open up the OneDrive option here, like I said, the backup folders, that's something that we specify for the desktop documents and pictures, and anything that is in this. So in the File Explorer right now, anything that's in the OneDrive folder here will automatically be backed up. You can also choose other folders on your computer. If desktop pictures and documents aren't the only ones that you want, you can choose other folders. And assuming you're connected to the internet, you're online, then yes, it will automatically back up the files. If you happen to make a change somewhere else and you're editing the file on OneDrive, and as soon as you come back to your computer you're normally using, it will find that new file or those new changes and then pull them and save them to your computer as well. So yep, it will back up everything that way.
Can you back up files remotely?
So trying to think how.
The question is from Stephen Coyne. Would you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, sure. If I'm at home and my desktop computer at work in the office is accessible through OneDrive, I've noticed when I've gone on, I don't see all of the files that are on my desktop from that desktop remotely. Can I take those files that are on the desktop in work and back them up to OneDrive from my home computer to the OneDrive on my computer at work, if that makes sense?
So I think you would, I think the first thing you want to do is if you enable the backup for OneDrive and chose the desktop, it would have those files accessible from your home computer. You could open the browser, go into Office 365 and OneDrive, and you should see all the files that have been backed up. So yes, you should be able to do that as long as you initiated the backup at some point on your desktop at work. Then you can open those files. And like I said, if it's a document and you made changes on your home computer, then as soon as you go back into work, it should pull that latest version that you saved from your home computer.
Okay, so then if they weren't backed up at work, then I can't do that.
Yeah, essentially you have to initiate that before you want to work on them elsewhere. So you would need to make a backup or upload them first before you would be able to access them from other locations.
Great, thank you, Glenn.
Yep, you're welcome.
Glenn, there's a question from Aaron Berger. Those folders that show up in the shared folder, are they duplicated, or does the OneDrive folder just point to the original local copies? In the OneDrive folder, I mean, not the shared. I don't know if Aaron wants to elaborate more.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it doesn't like double count towards your memory on your computer, right? Is it in the OneDrive folder? Is it just pointing to the local copies, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're not like double dipping on space, so you don't have multiple copies. So whatever saved there would only be things that are on your local computer.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any more questions for Glenn? Patrick has one. Is there a way to save both locally on your computer and to OneDrive? If so, is there a way to sync your local drive with OneDrive?
So yeah, that's basically what the feature of the OneDrive software is. You choose the locations you want to back up. You can have the files in just one location. So like if you didn't want this particular file to be backed up, then you can just have it on your local computer. If you chose to back it up on OneDrive, then it would be on both locations. So your local computer as well as the OneDrive backup, and you could access that from other locations as well.
Anyone else? All right, well, Glenn, thank you very much for a really great session. I know that you don't normally present, and it was really spectacular. Thank you for all the great information.
Yeah, thank you.
We really
Thanks
appreciate
for everyone, your questions, and for attending.
it.